Meat City, baby.
Hello and welcome back to Meat City Gaming. JD here with another achievement guide, this time for Everspace 2. And the achievement we're talking about is Ludicrous Speed. Finish all racetracks with a platinum rank. And this is by far easily the most difficult achievement in Everspace 2. It is one of those achievements that just makes you shake your head. It is super frustrating. Difficulty level is very high, and hopefully I will be able to provide some tips on how to approach this achievement and make it less burdensome. There's no way to make this easy. There's no way to shortcut this. You can do some prep and you can give yourself the best chance of completing it, but there is a percentage of this achievement that is just get good. You just have to practice. You have to have a little bit of the skill level needed in addition to doing all of the other prep work to get this done. It is very hard, and I do not want to sugarcoat that or mislead anybody. But Everspace 2 is a great game, and if you're looking to get all the achievements, this is one of them. So in Everspace 2, there are 10 race courses scattered across the different systems, and you need to complete all 10 of them, which is a side quest, and then you need to get the platinum rank, the highest rank on all 10, in order to get Ludicrous Speed. The first step is to have the proper loadout for your ship, and that includes having the proper ship. There are a bunch of different ship options in Everspace 2, and some of them are very obviously not the best choice for a racing ship. There's the gunship, there's the bomber. These are big, slow, heavy ships that do not excel in a racing environment. Is it possible to do it with them? I don't know. If you're the best player ever and you do everything perfectly right, could you get it done? Maybe. I kind of think no for some of the courses. You need to use the proper ship. For me, it's an easy choice. It's the Vanguard, which is the highest base speed and highest base control or handling stats that you can get for a ship. And you want the tier 4 version because every tier that you go up, those base stats scale with the ship. Again, do you need a tier 4 Vanguard? No, you could do it with a tier 3 Vanguard. You could do it with a tier 4 of one of the other ships that's also moderately fast and well maneuverable. But if you want the easiest path, for me, pick the one with the best numbers in racing stats, and that's the tier 4 Vanguard. There are 2 additional pieces of equipment that I would recommend trying to get if you can. So the booster is very important as a base component because it boosts your ship, and you want those quick boosts of speed whenever you can on a straightaway or when you're facing in the right direction in order to get those platinum times. I have found acceleration is a little bit more important than top speed. Very rarely in a race are you going to be able to just lay on the throttle, hit the boost, and go in a straight line and reach that top speed. It's much more frequent that you're just hitting a jolt of the acceleration, a jolt of the boost. So you want it to get you up to that top speed very quickly. The top speed itself is less important. So I would look for acceleration as a stat that you care about. However, what's really important in my view is some of the boosters come with bonus stats, and one of the bonus stats that you can get is +2 top speed percent. And they can cap out, if you go to level 30, you can get a +21% speed boost baked into the booster, and that is not boost speed, that's base speed. So when I have this on my tier 4 Vanguard, I had a 129, I think it's meters per second, speed stat for my ship. So that's what I did this with. And again, all of these courses have a little bit of leeway, so you don't need that. It's a nice to have, not a must have. On top of that, I've read, there is another component that has a similar stat. The cargo unit, oddly enough, is also supposed to have a +2 speed percentile. I did not find a single one of these components in my entire playthrough, in my entire completion of Everspace 2. So maybe that's old information, maybe that's from the beta and it's not true anymore, I don't know, but it at least used to be true. So if you're playing through the game and you happen to find a cargo unit that has the plus speed modifier on it, I would save that, and as you go through the game, as you progress in levels, upgrade it. Hang on to it, upgrade it to the top level, upgrade it to the top rarity, and so you'll have that speed baked in, because nothing else matters when you're doing racing. It doesn't matter how many cargo spots it has, it doesn't matter if it's a self-healing or anything else. All that matters is, does it give you that extra percentile speed? So keep an eye out for it. If you find one, stash it, upgrade it, and throw it on your ship when you go for this achievement. And then you'll be even ahead of where I was when I completed this. So you'll have even a little bit more of an edge. So the other thing that we need to do is have the proper setup for our run. And what I mean by that, unfortunately, is how you play the game as opposed to what you're using in the game. In most of the game, I used a third-person pulled-out view, which is nice when you're doing combat. You can see better frame of reference. You can see where ships are, where shots are coming from, right? In terms of playing through the game, I did it almost exclusively in that far third-person view. When you're doing the racing, though, that doesn't work so well. And part of the reason is the drift mechanics in the game. I love Everspace 2 in terms of its space combat. It is one of the best space combat games I've ever played. Part of that is the momentum in the field. Your ship has weight and momentum. When you stop hitting the acceleration, you don't just stop on a dime. Your ship drifts, it moves, it has this weight to it. Unfortunately, that's really bad when you're trying to race, and especially because the races require you to fly through these small rings that require precise movement and turn and change of direction and change of speed. And so now when you have this momentum and this weight and movement, it makes all of that way, way more difficult. One of the reasons I hated this achievement is because it's so different than the rest of the game. The rest of the game is about using that momentum and movement and sway, and then all of a sudden for this achievement you have to be super precise and accurate, and it just changed the feel of the game. Not a big fan. But the biggest thing that you can do to tame that, interestingly enough, is switch your frame of view into first person. And you can go first person, no cockpit view, and now you just kind of point the direction you want to go and the ship responds way better. I don't know why. Maybe it's just in my head, but it was vastly different. I went from being able to not even get close to completing some courses to instantly, first or second run, being able to complete some courses by switching into that first person view. It just really, really made the controllability of the ship much, much better. So I would absolutely recommend that that's the first thing you do when you're about to do a race, switch into that first person view. Another thing you can do is your control input. If you have access to a mouse and keyboard, if you're playing this on PC, it's gonna be much easier. If you're playing on Xbox or a console, it's gonna be much more difficult. But a mouse and keyboard will give you those precise movements in terms of your direction, and it gives you much better access to multiple inputs. You can control the roll of your ship and the yaw and the pitch and all of that at once. Where on a controller, it's very hard to do that. It's even hard to just hit the boost and still turn your ship at all, because you're usually clicking in a thumbstick to do it. So mouse and keyboard would absolutely be preferable. Other than that, if you have a programmable controller like the Elite controller, you can at least use those paddle shifters to do your boost, and then you don't need to remove your thumbs from the turn stick or press on your thumbs for the turn stick to do the boost. That was a big help. That's what I used to get through this. And the final component, as I mentioned earlier, it's practice. It's practice, practice, practice. Each of the courses, thankfully they're short, but they have a feel to them, and you're just gonna have to learn it. You're gonna have to say, oh, okay, this turn is really hard. If I come in too fast, I'm gonna overshoot that ring. Or this one, it requires an up, down, up, but the rings on this second up are a little more forgiving, so I don't have to go as high. I can ease out that curve a little bit, and you'll just get a feel for the tracks, and you'll learn it, and you'll repeat it, and then you just need everything to come together in that one magic run to get the platinum run. So a couple more specific tips. As I said, some of the rings do seem to have a different hitbox, for lack of a better term, right? You can see the ring on the screen, and if you fly through it, you're definitely good. But some of them, if you fly close to it, it will still count, and some of them it won't. Some have absolutely no forgiveness, and some are much more of a broader area. So as you're flying and learning, you'll get a feel for that. Oh, this section is a little more forgiving, so I can come into it a little bit faster, and I don't have to worry about being as precise. And this section, oh, it's super sticky, so I better make sure that I slow down and hit those rings precisely, or I'm gonna be penalized. The next tip I would say is get a perfect start. The runs are quick to restart. There's a very easy, it's a 5-second process or so to, you're in the middle of the run, you missed a ring, crap, forget it, this is a bad run. Restart, go back to the beginning, and go. And so you don't want to just get a good start, you want a perfect start. And so what I would recommend is at the start of the run, be super aggressive. Try to get those first 3, 4, 5 rings the best you can. Like, go for a full boost. Go for the tightest turn. Go for the shortcut where your wing just clips the ring to put yourself ahead for the rest of the run. Because if you mess it up in the first 3 seconds, who cares? Restart and try it again, and you've lost nothing. It's when you get to 56 seconds into the run, and now it's like the final closing seconds, and oh my gosh, am I gonna make it? No, I'm really close, so I have to be extra dangerous, and now I miss a ring, and now I have to go back and start all over again, and that can be really frustrating. So build in your aggressiveness early in the run, because if you make a mistake, you can just reset and you haven't lost very much. And then if you're super aggressive early, you'll have set yourself up to be a little bit more cautious at the end of the run to prevent those costly mistakes. And the last tip is don't give up. This is, as I said, very, very difficult, but it does have a little bit of leeway in each of the courses. In 1 or 2 of them, you can even miss a ring and still get the platinum medal. I certainly wouldn't recommend it. That doesn't make it easy to do, but there is that level. The longer a course tends to be, the more forgiving it is, because you have big sections where you can make up a lot of time and boost and go heavy and kind of recover. There's the ones where the platinum time begins or 30 seconds. Those are the tough ones because there's just not much fat to trim out of the run. So those have to be very, very precise. Those, one single error can kill you, but the longer ones are much more forgiving and more easy to overcome. So that's it. I am gonna have a separate video showing each of the tracks with some amount of little tips and tricks that are specific to that course, but this isn't really the kind of thing where I can tell you how to do a run. You kind of just have to get the feel for it. All the basic tips and tricks that I laid out here will apply to those runs and make them easier, and then you'll be able to see each one specifically. How did I do it? What turns did I take? What path? When did I hit the boost? When was I off? So you can see any individual track that's giving you trouble will have its own specific video to hopefully help you accomplish this achievement and unlock Ludicrous Speed in Everspace 2. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.